In this video, I will try to show you how to break century traditions of ignorance about classical voice, so that video is more intended for composers, vocal coaches who are not singers, conductors. Some will find this video as politically incorrect, but that's exactly the intention of this video, is to speak the truth. To speak the truth about classical voice and ignorance that lasted for God knows how many centuries. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you some of the arias and explain why even the great composers sometimes make ignorant mistakes about the voice. So I will give you my personal experience about this ignorance, without naming names, of course. I remember singing a gala concert with great singers, really. Actually, all of them are Metropolitan stars. With a great conductor who was not only a great conductor, but very good, very friendly personality. Also, voice-friendly conductor. There are not so many of them. I remember this conductor was giving us a hard time because he took very untraditional tempo. I don't mind untraditional tempo. Every artist has a right to choose his own way of doing it. The only goal is for it to be beautiful. In this particular case, it sounded like it cannot be beautiful because all the singers complained behind his back. Eventually, I approached Maestro. I blame it on myself, of course. I said, Maestro, you know this particular tempo, and it was Rigoletto's quartet, is very difficult for me personally to manage. He looked at me in surprise and said, what particular thing you're talking about? And I talked about this quartet of Rigoletto, which to my opinion was very fast, or let's say to my voice and to the other voices. And I asked him if he can slow down a little bit. I said, why? We don't need to slow down. And he showed me in this way, Bella figlia dell'amore. He showed me in a crooning voice, showing me that if he can do it, why can't I do it? I didn't say anything. I just I looked at him seriously and I said, I just repeated in crooning voice the same tempo as he did, and I said, Bella figlia dell'amore. And he looked at me smiling, you see, so you can do it now. So I left him realizing that nothing is going to change. Nevertheless, composers, coaches that are not singers, conductors, give themselves rights to teach how to sing. And I assume that knowledge comes out of ignorance. Ignorance that every musician can croon in a way. Maybe not everyone, but most of the musicians can croon. This crooning is so natural, so therefore they know pretty much about the voice. You will never see a conductor teaching a violinist or trumpetist how to play. He would rather give him general instructions like, I need more piano here, or I need more legato here, or I need this or that. But you will see often non-singing coaches teaching how to sing. So let's say if I'm not pleased with the violin or with any instrument in the orchestra, I would not come to this violinist and show him how to play or pretend I know how he can play. I will give him general instructions to do so, unless I am the violinist initially and being conductor. For example, we know that great Maestro Toscanini was a cello player before he became conductor, so I'm sure that he knew cello intimately and he had all the right to give the instructions on how to play it. This particular ignorance comes from assumption that crooning voice is very similar to classical voice. Therefore, if I can croon, you can sing that in full voice. I was a professional jazz musician and a crooner, if you like, before I became classical singer, opera singer to be more precise. And I had this suggestion because I heard complaints in my own conservatory that maestro complained about we have so many great instruments, or potential instruments if you like, great voices, but very few of them can sing musically. To my mind it came the idea, maestro, if that's such a problem, why we check them out when they pass examination to conservatory? They sing this classical, with classical voice, and we can understand the potential of this particular instrument, but at the same time we ask them to croon, and to croon musically, and if we hear that they can croon musically, then they potentially will musical singers in the future. And maestro looked at me and said, not necessarily. And I didn't understand back then what he meant. Actually, I disagreed inside. I didn't say anything, but I disagreed. I said, why not? Why not? Only when I really fully understand how complex classical technique is, only then, years later, I remember maestro's words. And now, leaving conductors and vocal coaches in peace, I will take on composers. Because composers, they of course have the basic knowledge of the voice. They know the range of the singer's voice. They have to know it. On the other hand, they don't know about tessitura. Devil lies in the little details, as the saying so. So this is the devil that lies in a little detail. Because tessitura is that what makes a voice, a particular voice, flexible with this particular composition or aria. And tessituras of dramatic, lirico spinto, Rossini tenors is very different. Because dramatic tenors, tessitura lies lower in a range than of a high tenor. And so when one composes a piece for a particular voice, he has to know which particular voice he's composing for. There's a notion among non-singers, tenor is a tenor. Doesn't make difference. So if you're a tenor, you can sing both Cavalleria Rusticana, you can sing Puccini, you can sing Donizetti, you can sing Rossini, you can sing everything. It's not true. I want to give you an example on that particular ignorance. Mascagni's fans, please don't kill me for that. I will give you the example of Beniamino Gili. I already mentioned that in some of my programs, but more detailed information about Beniamino Gili participating in as a Turridu in Cavalleria Rusticana, where Mascagni himself was present and guiding Gili how to sing. Now, let me read you from Gili's memoirs. The memoirs were written in 1957 and then translated 1964. This is from the 1964 translations of Gili's memoirs. I remember singing Olola and Mascagni even laughing at my tremendous efforts. When approaching the phrase "Essi d'umoro vaio in paradiso," I already spent all of my breath. It's above human possibilities to sing the way you do, Mascagni told Gili. The greatest lyric tenor of that time, Beniamino Gili, had problems of singing Olola. Olola was choking him. Of course, Mascagni knew better how to sing, and he suggests Gili some tricks. You can hear the irony in what I'm saying. Mascagni, to my point, if he knew human voice better and human tessitura, and he was writing this particular Turrido for a spinto lirico, even dramatic tenor, not for a lyric tenor. Of course, Beniamino Gigli was a lyric tenor, and the reason he was singing this arioso in full voice, because that's what Mascagni wanted. But then Mascagni realized that it is not possible, somehow subconsciously, and he asked Gigli to do it in a more lyric manner. But Mascagni wrote it for a dramatic tenor, or a lirico spinto, at least. No Donizetti or Rossini tenor can sing Mascagni. He will break his voice over it. So that inconsistency comes out of writing this particular aria actually way higher than it could have been written. Now, you can say, don't teach the great Mascagni how to write. I'm not trying to teach great Mascagni how to write. Mascagni had his own ideas, of course. The connection of overture, and it comes right after the overture with harp playing. This particular aria is written in a tessitura that is not suitable for lirico spinto or dramatic tenors. All tenors have difficulties of singing this Olola. Yes, you can master it, you can sing it in good vocals, but it doesn't feel like a serenade, like a love serenade. If you sing in this particular, it feels like you're singing an operatic aria, and I am sure that great Mascagni had an intention of writing this as a very relaxed love serenade. That's why he put the harp and not the full orchestra behind it. Now, if you take this aria steps down, even 3 steps down, which is whoa. What are you, a baritone? You not become a baritone if you take it 3 steps down, because this aria is written tessiturally very high. So you won't have any problems singing low notes or middle notes. They will be all fine. This aria will be just simply easier to sing and easier to express its intentions. I mean, you can sing it, you can master it, but I've never heard a intended dramatic tenor singing this aria so easily that you can feel like it's a real serenade. So in that sense, Mascagni came out of his composer's intentions and never minding the consequences. Those tenors who are listening to me and those who really sang this role, I'm not talking about the just Olola, because again, what I'm saying is this Olola, written in original tessitura, is better performed by lyric tenors, because these passaggio notes are very easy with the lyric tenors. The rest of the role is written for high dramatic tenor, I would say, or lirico spinto tenore. Now, I know that you would like to crucify me for these words, because people like to make idols. This is a clear ignorance for me from the great composer. I will give you my example. This aria, I'll sing this aria for you in both tessituras, in the original one and in 3 steps down. And you try it too, and you will tell me your impression about this.
Olola cairillatti la camisa, si bianca e rossa come la cilasa. Quando da ci fai la bocca risa, beato cui ti dà lo primo vaso. Tra la porta tua lo sangue spaso, e non m'importa sì che m'ero acciso, e se tu muore vai in paradiso, se non ci trovo a te manco ci trovo. manco ci traso.
I strongly recommend young conductors, young vocal coaches to take courses on human voice. At least that will give you some ideas and disperse your ignorance about it, because that ignorance is very dangerous for the singers. You might think, oh, this is maybe some local conductors, they don't know. But I'm going to talk about Herbert von Karajan, which I consider myself as probably the best opera conductor ever. But we all know, especially from Elizabeth Schwarzkopf's notes, that Herbert von Karajan broke many voices, because he would invite people who he liked as singers to sing the roles they did not belong to. You can say that why the singer did not decline it, but it's very difficult when you have Herbert von Karajan proposing you to sing a certain role that does not belong to your voice, to reject it. Your career might be, and the name that probably comes to your mind is not the only one, it's just the only, it's a famous name. That is very common. Herbert von Karajan was a great opera conductor. As we see, he was ignorant on the part of distinguishing the lyric tenor from dramatic tenor. The other conductor was Tullio Serafin, who I had also great admiration, and to my point he's one of the best opera conductors. Tullio Serafin, as you know, with Maria Callas, proposed her to sing Norma, and she was doing Valkyrie, she was doing Brunegilde at the time. We'll look at why did Maestro Serafin propose Maria Callas to sing Norma. It's simple to guess, because they had problems with Norma. Let's use her. And she took risks. She took risks, and she sang Norma, and she was amazing. I think she put dramatism in old bel canto, almost forgotten operas, and we thank Tullio Serafin, and we thank Maria Callas, and we thank the world that it happened, because Maria Callas really was a somebody, a real diva. But at the same time, if we see how that affected her vocal skills, those who know Maria Callas intimately, they would agree with me that that ruined her voice, because singing bel canto arias and singing so versatile arias with the approval of Maestro, of course it was her fault too. She took risks, but also, as we know, Maria Callas didn't last on operatic stage. Of course we take risks when somebody gives us the opportunity, but often that opportunity breaks our voices, and then what you have to say is ciao opera. So I don't want you to be that naive to think somebody who is a great musician necessarily knows the voice and you can just follow their advice. You have to have a mind of your own. I bring Gili again as a great example of this. Again, Gili also wasn't able to refuse certain roles, like Turiddu in Cavaliere Rusticana. Also, Maestro Puccini told that he wanted Gili to be an original Calaf, and Gili could not say no to Maestro Puccini, but he was absolutely convinced that it was not for his voice. And when Maestro Puccini passed, he writes in his memoirs that I was so happy that, not that he passed, but I was so happy that they appointed another tenor for this role, because he definitely knew he was not going to do it, or that's going to damage his voice. And this important information, of course, the life is life, and you will take your own decisions, you will take your own risks, but remember what was said in this particular video. Be careful. Ciao.